Ben, how are you?
Good, man.
Yeah, you been good?
Good.
Yeah. How was your Christmas?
Just busy. Yeah, pretty flat out. Just the regular family stuff and a little bit of work kind of leading up to it with the music shop and jam night and put my track out, my latest track on the 23rd as well.
Is that Daddy?
Daddy. Yeah.
I listened to that the other day.
Oh, cool.
Man, that is going to be one of the best mixes I've ever heard.
Yeah, that's Matt Templeman did that. It does all the Voyager stuff.
It's so fucking, just, I don't know. So it's perfect. It's it reminds me a lot, and you're probably going to hear this a lot because it's probably a similar genre. Reminded me so much of The Pineapple Thief.
Oh, cool.
And Porcupine Tree. You know, the album with the syringe on the cover. Fucking what's that called? Anaesthetize.
I've heard of it. You know, it's so
Fear of Blank Planet, whatever it was called. Yeah.
It's really funny because I've a lot of people have made that kind of connection, like of the familiar kind of elements, and they're both bands I know. Well, I've heard a couple of Porcupine Tree songs, but I wouldn't call myself like a fan. Like I couldn't even tell you an album. Not joking. I do not know one album. I've heard of Pineapple Thief.
Yeah.
But
they both got the same drummer, I think, Gavin Harrison.
And they've both got names with fruit involved in them.
Yeah, they're both. I don't know.
Oh, it's got the same drummer, did you say?
Gavin Harrison.
Yeah, right.
He's fucking one of my favourite drummers ever. Don't know if you're familiar with him, but
no.
I've got a Blu-ray of Porcupine Tree, them playing one of their albums in its entirety, and it's their only album that I like. They've got other stuff that's really popular, but and they're one band that. There's the frontman Steve Wilson. Wilson, you heard of him?
I've heard of him.
Yeah. He's just, I think every album they were doing something different, and he's like, I'm going to do some metal now, so it's kind of more metal orientated. And then other ones, if you listen to an album after that, it's like kind of really poppy stuff. So he just does whatever. That band doesn't really have like an identity, if that makes sense. Not that I can tell. There's probably people that are more educated to speak about the band than me, but just from what I've seen, but. That one album is fucking amazing, and it's really, really similar to the stuff you have been writing.
Yeah, right.
And I think they won like a Grammy or something, or were nominated for the Blu-ray because it's filmed so well. They got like a proper like film producer guy to film this gig in Tilburg.
Wow.
And it's fucking amazing, and it's so tight and it's so perfect. And just every time I watch it, I've seen it like 50 times. Wow. I get chills every time. And then I showed one of my old bandmates, and he's into like Slipknot and stuff like that, traditional metal, and his wouldn't be his thing. And I showed him, and I was like, "Oh, come on!" He's like, "Nah, I don't want to watch it." And I said, "No, just trust me, man." And I know that him and the guitarist in my old band, they love smoking weed and that. And I'm like, watching this. You'll feel like you're high watching it, even though you're sober.
Yeah.
And then they watched it, and then at first they were so on the fence about it. They just weren't interested.
Yep.
And then we had the lights off, had it cranked on his sound system, and then by the time we got a couple songs in, they were like, "Holy fuck, this is like an experience watching this. It's so well done."
Yeah.
And it's I was thinking to watch this live, I reckon I'd just have goosebumps the whole time, and I reckon I would be like a bit out of body experience.
Yeah.
I've got to lend it to you. You have to watch it.
Yeah,
it's
I 100%
good,
will.
Man.
Yeah, it sounds
I reckon
great.
You'll love it, man. It'll be so far up your alley, and it's just everything about it. I love watching the bassist play, and I love listening to his bass, and that's the first thing I noticed about your music is the bass stood out to me so much.
Yeah.
And it straight away reminded me of that because I can't remember their bassist's name, but just that's one of the most favourite parts of their music for me. I love just watching him, and he's just always doing something cool with the bass.
Yeah.
And it's like he's not overplaying it. It's just perfect. It's almost as if, it's like, it's so well done.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then that's one thing I miss about, like, I love, say, Machine Head, and bands like that. And one thing, as much as I love their bass, I kind of wish they would stray off the following the root note thing and do some cool stuff sometimes. And
yeah, it's one of the amazing things about the bass that a lot of people, I think, don't understand. There's a tendency for people to downplay the significance of bass and what it can really do. They think that, well, not everybody thinks like this, but I think that
probably a majority, I would say.
It's just like, you just follow the root note. But when you, it's one of the great things about, I think, understanding scales as well, learning scales is knowing that if you understand how chords are related back to scales and you have one chord, like you might, like if I took a chord like a D7, just a D7 chord, and you could say that a D7 chord relates back to a G major scale. It's the fifth chord of a G major scale. And then what that gives you, if someone's playing a D7 chord, you can play all the notes of the G major scale over that D7 chord, and it will give you a totally different flavour.
Yeah, okay.
And so it could be a really good thing, when you, even from a writing perspective, if you're on one chord and you're like, oh, I don't know where to go from here. You can instinctively go and just do these things, and a lot of people do. Yeah. But it is one of the cool things about the theory side of things is you get harmony. You can go and find these other things by using theoretical kind of
I think
concepts.
I need to learn a bit of theory because I was talking about this with a guest yesterday. Yeah. He doesn't know any theory really either, like very basic. I'm always just relied on my ear. Like I can tell if it's out of key straight away. But you see some people that learnt theory, they picked up the instrument and learnt theory at the same time. And I doubt this is in every instance, but just from what I've seen for a lot of people is then they tend to play in a box. Yeah. Because they learnt, like, this is the walls you're playing. And whereas
it's
I thought...
a bit limiting, like constricting, Yeah,
and I thought now's probably a good time. I really want to knuckle down and learn theory. That I've been trying to learn it for years, and I just can't do it. But what I need to do is not get lessons off someone, but go and do a course, because then I have to fucking do it.
Yeah, I mean, even I think what can be really good as well is learning another instrument to learn it. And the best guitar is piano is the best. I mean, guitar is probably one of the worst instruments, I think, to try and learn theory on, because it's not very linear, So like things like, for instance, like the high E string on a 6-string guitar. I know you dabble in like lower string guitars and stuff at times, but
I'll still play. I love leads. So
so like high octave E note that's on a high E string. If you've got a 24 fret 6-string guitar, there's 6 places you can play that exact E note, and so. The point I'm trying to make is it's, straight away it's quite confusing, especially if you look back at like sheet music. You think about if you see that E note on a guitar transcribed on a piece of paper, it's like, well, which E do I play? Yeah. Because there's 6 places I can play that. On a piano, there's only, across the spectrum of notes, there's only one place you can play that octave of E note, right? So straight away I've got to play that here. Yeah. But you see that same note on a guitar, and that's why tab is so popular for guitarists, because that 0
tells you exactly what
string to play, but it doesn't give you a lot of context on like why to play it, or what key you're in, or you're missing a lot of the other information.
Well, that's where I think is it would be handy for me to learn theories that in our my band stuff. Now we've been dabbling in a lot of synth. Well, I have been. And so there's the piano roll thing on Reaper. Yep. And I'm going through that, and I'm just doing the synth on there. And a lot of stuff I've come up with on guitar, and then I'll just jump on there and just do it in there. And I'm like, oh, that sounds actually cooler. Yep. And then we can put that on a backing track and worry about playing fat rhythms over that, instead of having a live being kind of thin, because one guitar's playing the rhythm and one's playing this leady kind of thing over it. It'll probably sound bigger live, if it's a backing track with some synth. And and then I've noticed now, like when I'm trying to harmonise things and make like cool dissonant things, I'm slowly like seeing little relationships between things, and I'm like, oh right, okay, oh so those two notes can go together. Wow, I never knew that. And now I'm just like, fuck, this is like a rabbit hole.
Oh, it is, man. Yeah, it's yeah. There's so much. Like I know so little about it, really. I do. And I think it's one of those things like anything. It's like even the technique side of guitar. If you start, we all start as beginners playing some shitty riff like Smoke on the Water, and then you incrementally, work up to doing more technical things, and then you do learn some scale things and a few runs. But it never really ever stops.
No.
And then, for a lot of people, like for me, grew up listening to like Steve Vai, Dimebag, guys like that, wanting to replicate those type of things. And as I've gotten older, I've wanted to create more space. And I think that's how, like, that's indicative of, the latest music I've been putting out. There's quite a lot of space in it. I mean, it's layered and there's things going on, but there's not like a lot of notes in a short space of time.
I know what you mean.
I've kind of come away from that, and
because when you're learning, you think that the more notes you cram in, the better.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. It's such a cliche thing to say, but you look online, all the kids are like, "Oh, but can you sweep?" Because oh man, you should, or you go to, say, at my work, people here I play guitar. So then they've gone, oh, man, check out this guy. And they'll show me a YouTube video and this guy doing these crazy sweep picking runs. And I'm like, that's the most unimpressive thing you can show me, man. Yeah. Honestly, I don't say that because I don't want to fucking shoot him down. But I'm just thinking, that doesn't impress me, man. Like, yes, I'm shit at sweep picking, but if I lock myself in here and really do knuckle down, I could do it. It's all it is repetitive muscle memory. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, what I like is, say, there's an example. I was listening to your song, that Daddy song, the other day when I was chopping down some trees out the back, and just had it in my headphones, and there was one bit I just fucking love. It just stands out to me so well because there's all this space and there's this cool little guitar lick thing. I can't remember where it is in the song, but I was like, fuck, man.
Might be the little...
it's like all random.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. And I was like, you can't write that. Like, you can't learn that. That's something that comes with experience because you've been playing for a long time. And in my opinion, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but you're easily one of the best guitarists I've ever seen.
Thanks, man.
I just think you're so talented. And
thanks, bro.
I was talking about it yesterday to the previous guest. I was saying, you've played in so many cover bands all the time, and it's so cool to see you doing something now. But I can tell that playing in doing all those covers you've done for years, you've probably learnt what good songwriting is, and that comes with it's always good to learn other band stuff, and that's this is going off on a bit of a tangent, but this is where I've kind of a bit of my downfall with songwriting is I've never really played other bands' music, very rarely,
which I love, by the way. Like, that's something I'm really endeared to with you. I think it's...
But it limits my songwriting because I don't have anything to grab from. But then one thing that is kind of... Sometimes I'm like, I guess this kind of is cool in a way, is I'll hear one of my favourite bands will drop a new track and it always inspires me. I know I talk about Machine Head a lot, but every time they drop a new song, I'm like, fuck, I want to go write a song now. And I don't know how any of it's played, what they're playing, but I'll just do what I think sounds cool that's inspired me and come up with something completely different. And I might tell people, they'll go, like, say the other guitarists in our band might go, how did you fucking come up with that riff? And I was like, I was listening to a new song, blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, doesn't sound anything like it. I'm like, nah, it doesn't. But it started with that idea. Yeah. And then I didn't know what the fuck they were doing, so I just made up my own thing. And then it turned into this.
It's amazing how just hearing things can be enough. You don't necessarily need to be learning and performing these other songs. Sometimes it's just hearing it. And so like just on the subject of like what you're talking about with performing covers and things. Like I'm a huge Beatles fan, and I've played in Beatles bands over the years. I've played on cruise ships playing Beatles music and done some pretty different things, and one of the stories about the early Beatles, prior to them, being as prolific as they were, is they used to play in Hamburg, Germany, and they used to do like 6-hour shows. And back in those days, the music that they were drawing from, which was 50s rock and roll type stuff, Chuck Berry, whatever.
They doing improv the whole time, were they?
Well, no, they were playing covers the whole time, but a lot of those songs would only be like 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
So you imagine how many songs they're covering in a 6-hour gig, and they were taking, the stimulant drugs of those days, like Quaaludes or whatever. They were ludes, taking these drugs and just playing these frenetic, high energy, cover shows. Yeah. But it's why they became, I think, masters at writing these kind of simple kind of pop songs.
They had so much to draw from, didn't they?
Yeah, totally. They understood. You start to understand the formula of it, and same for me. I probably got. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to the Beatles, but I've probably done 2,000 cover shows, I would say, which is a lot, right?
Yeah.
2,000 times 3 hours a night kind of thing. Close to 6,000 hours of just performing other people's music, which is ridiculous.
And that's not including your rehearsals.
No, I mean, I hate rehearsing covers, to be honest. Like, I just did one last night, and to drive to the hen house to play, stuff I'd prefer just to learn in my bedroom or something and rock up and do the gig. But anyway, I digress. Like, having played all these different cover songs for years, like you just get so familiar with the structure of different songs that I can kind of, if someone tells me a song and I've heard it, and once I figure out what the first chord is, I'll know the rest of the song. Yeah. I'm just like, because I know relative to that starting point where the patterns of music, where they're likely to go, So it is helpful when you're trying to create sounds, having the different sounds to draw on. And I mean, even just in terms of like the music I like, it goes everywhere from the Bee Gees to Deicide. Yeah. Like it literally that's the scope. And I mean, like you're saying, even, I work with that young guy at Music Force, Dan, the shredder. And he was used to be really into Polyphia. And I can remember hearing, and just, it's not, I couldn't listen to it all day long, it's not 100% my thing, but just the rhythmic ideas, like I've been working on this new track and it's quite electro, it's almost got David Bowie kind of elements in it, but then I've got this guitar, it's not even really a solo, but it was fully influenced by hearing this Polyphia. Yeah, okay, right. And just the ideas that I played were things I would never have ever done before.
Because I'm not a fan of Polyphia at all. At all. I just find it just super pretentious.
I know what you're saying.
But I'll never deny that they can play, of course. It ain't my thing though. But I was watching an interview with that Tim Henson, the young fella, and I think he, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said he comes up with a lot of his stuff from like rap beats. Oh, okay. That's where he gets the
rhythms.
The rhythm, yeah. And he just messes around with the rap beats on MIDI and then plays it on guitar or something like that, or vice versa. Yeah. And that's
awesome, man.
And that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what we. It's kind of what needs to happen as much as. And it's it's important to keep yourself in check, isn't it? Because we can get so kind of like caught up in our opinions, with music and stuff, or with anything when we've been doing it for such a long time. Yeah. And this is something I've seen a lot because I was playing in bands, cover bands in Perth by the time I was kind of 17, and some of the people I was playing with were in their late 40s. Yeah. And now seeing some of those people, and you talk to them about the current state of music, and they're so jaded about it, and they're so like, oh man, that's fucking bullshit, man. Some dude with a laptop, blah blah blah, and it's like, but unfortunately, as much as like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s did offer up some really great music and arguably maybe some of the best that will ever exist. Who knows? You know, the only constant in the universe is change, and everything keeps moving forward, no matter whether you like it or not. And you can either get on board and accept it, or get left behind.
That's right.
And you know, we need people that are pushing the envelope and trying to take it into different places, because otherwise everything continues to stay the same.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
and I don't want to hear another band that sounds like the same as Slayer, or, you know, like, even, I hate to rag on anybody, but say a band like Wolfmother when they came out, and I'm just like, well, why would I listen to this?
When you listen to Zeppelin
I got to listen to Zeppelin or Sabbath or any, you know, where they've actually done it like better.
Yeah,
and they're the OG. And same as, you know, this band, you know, there's a lot of people trying to, you know, copy the Meshuggah sound, and it's
gent thing.
And it's a great thing, and it's like, you know, you have these bands like,
I like bands that draw from it.
Yeah,
you know, they're not copying what, say, Meshuggah did.
Yeah,
but there's elements in it. I like where the band, and this is, you know, you look at all the bands that are successful, is it's only the very small percentage, because someone did something right. You know, there'd be so many musos out there would be pulling ideas from Meshuggah and doing it cool, but there'll be someone that just has that right balance of that, and does it in a cool way that's just stands out, that little niche.
Well, it's
thing.
like even Jens Kidman, or is it? Oh no, it's Frederick. Sorry, Thorndale. Yeah. You know, I had never really put the connection together in the early days, but he's really heavily drawing from Alan Holdsworth. Yeah, like his guitar. You go back and listen to the Holdsworth stuff, because it's so.
I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I mean, Alan Holdsworth, man.
I know his name, but I wouldn't be able to.
Dude, he is. You know, like a guitar genius, like so out there and avant-garde, you know, like really, really different. And, you know, he's he wanted to be a saxophone player. I think that's the story with Alan Holdsworth. And he created his own whole set of scales for the guitar. Like he had his own complete way of looking at the guitar. There's a video, you can just watch it on YouTube, and he's just got his whole own system. He's just created a full, it's like an autistic genius or something, you know. Yeah. And I think the story was he wanted to play saxophone. His dad wouldn't give him one or something like that. They couldn't afford it or something. And ended up with this guitar, and because he was so drawn to the sound of saxophone, he created this whole unique type of sound. Yeah,
well, that reminds me of. Is there a similar story with Chris Poland? Because
who's Chris Poland?
He played in Megadeth for a while.
Oh, okay.
And he has them weird bends.
Right, yeah.
Really, and it sounds like kind of saxophony. It doesn't sound like guitar. It's guitar, but he's just got a strange way of playing. I'm sure his story's probably not anything like that, but it just reminded me of that, because I remember discussing him with another guy that I know that plays guitar, and he was learning some Chris Poland techniques, and they're just really weird, and it's hard to learn because it's not. It's something. It's like what always separates the great players is is the way they play. You know, it's in the fingers, and the way he does these bends is so fucking weird,
idiosyncratic, just like his own thing.
Yeah, it's so cool, and that's one thing about all my favourite players is they you can't emulate them as much as, you know, so many people will try to emulate, say, Dime, for example, but it's like, and you hear Zakk Wylde playing with Pantera now. Zack's an amazing player and very close to Dime in playing style, but still doesn't seem to pull it off that way. But
funnily enough, it's one of the things I was going to ask you about before that I didn't. I thought I'd wait and ask you what you think about it. And obviously, it's a really polarizing topic online. You know, you kind of got this dichotomy of people that are like, yeah, it's awesome that they're out there playing and that, you know, people get to hear the songs live and whatever, and they're celebrating Pantera. And then there's the other people that say, you know, the Abbott brothers would never have wanted this, and it should just be left alone, you know.
Yeah.
and I was just interested, you know, as we're both Pantera fans. You know,
it's a hard one because I think I don't really have an issue with it because I know that Zach was his best mate.
Sure. Yep.
And as far as Vinnie Paul, I don't really know the relationship between him and that Charlie. But I don't know. As long as it's not a money grab thing, which a lot of people are going, oh, it's a money grab. I don't think it is, because as much as you can say whatever you want about Phil Anselmo, he's a super honest guy. He'll just say what he thinks. And I don't know. He just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that's in it for a money grab, because he would have sold out years ago, but he's still been doing brutal music, you know, listening to like Scour or his other stuff. He's you can tell he's not motivated by...
Yeah, he's a music purist.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't... He wouldn't do it. It's just... I don't think it's a money grab, and Rex Brown's not like that either.
No.
I don't know him, but you can tell, you know, when someone's in it for the money, I think, anyway. But
yeah,
I think if they wrote new music, I'd be like, no.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
Performing the other songs, that's cool.
Start another band, you know,
that's
like
right,
call it something else. And
exactly. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Me personally, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, the solos and the guitar style is so iconic, and I listen to him playing those parts, and I just think it sucks.
Yeah,
that's my take on it. I realise that it's weird. Like I kind of need to get over my own BS about it as well. Like I mean, who knows what the true motivations are behind them doing it. I mean, we don't. You know, no one knows. I mean, as long as people are having fun, you know, I guess that's all that matters. And
I like to think. How would you think? Say if you were in their shoes. Say one of your mates in a band died, and then years later someone was like, do you want to maybe play their songs?
Yeah. I'd probably, if I was having to get up and play dimes, I kind of think that it's so unique and so special, it almost just needs to be left alone. You know? It's just
you got a good point.
It's just because, man, I can still listen to those solos and the hairs on my arms just stand up, and you know, like I'm somebody, I listen to a lot of different music, and like, you know, like I love jazz, and I love jazz players and blues players, and regardless of how my palette for music has expanded, that Dimebag was just pure energy, and just his ability to articulate whatever was going through him, you know, he's this conduit of the universe, you know, channeling this through his like rare breed of kind of technique, you know. There's all this kind of Texas blues in there and weird, like, it's just one in 10 billion, you know. It's so freakishly amazing, and I've heard, you know, there's some guys on YouTube that I've heard where I've gone, wow, you know, this, you know, some people can really pull it off really quite well. But
I think Old England's one that's really good with it.
Yeah, I think definitely the rhythm side of it, but the lead.
There's something about the leads. Yeah, the closest I've heard is, you know, Wes Houck.
Yeah,
he's the closest.
I think that's the guy I'm thinking of.
Yeah. From that band Alluvial.
Yeah,
he plays the Iceman guitars, and he's got a few dime guitars.
Yeah,
he's definitely got the closest as far as the pulling off the what the hands are doing. What would be the explanation for it? Just the way someone's
like the phrases and all the little quirks and the sounds, and to be able to play it clean. I mean, Van Halen was Eddie was very much the same, right?
Yeah,
it's a very similar thing. It's like I've heard a lot of people try and copy that stuff, and there's stuff that just gets lost in translation. It's these dudes are kind of speaking a bit of another language, you know what I mean?
A lot of guitarists are like that as well. Like you're probably like that yourself with a lot. If you showed me, you go, oh, here's some lick I'm playing, and then I was to play it, I would never be able to play it the way you play it, you know. And
no, it's that whole thing that people come back to is it's in the fingers, you know, and it's like even working in a guitar store. It's something I sometimes think about. I can be playing on a $50 piece of shit guitar amp with a complete beginner guitar, and it still just it sounds like my sound.
Yeah,
you know, it's just in my fingers, and yet it's nice to have the added benefit of these kind of fancy tools and all the rest of it. But at the end of it, I think, you know, 95% of what's going on, or, you know, obviously these numbers aren't exact, but, you know, the vast majority of it is coming from you. You know, I could give you Dimebag's guitar rig and you're still gonna there's a really good video. You would have heard of Eric Johnson. He's freak, you know, very different player to someone like Dime, but he's from Austin. He's a Texas guy, and there's a video online of him playing. I think he's playing one of Dime's guitars or Dime guitar, and he's still just got this Eric Johnson beautiful kind of ethereal kind of guitar sound.
There's something about that area where guitarists have. There's something in growing up there, I guess, because you hear, like, have you ever heard of that guitarist Marzi Montazeri? He was in Exiled for a while. And,
I don't know him.
Can't remember what else he was from, but he's from Texas, and he grew up with Dime. And I follow him on Instagram, and he's awesome guitarist, and he's got that twang to his play, that thing.
Yeah, I get. You know, it's like
they're very similar.
I guess it's like. You know, it becomes a bit of a cultural thing, doesn't it? Yeah. It's like you go to some places, you know, if you go out to the Wheat Belt, and I've played some of the crazy cover gigs I've played have been at B&S balls and things like that. These stupid gigs in the middle of nowhere. You drive 3 or 4 hours to go there. But everybody that's out there, they're all from the country, and they all listen to country music. And I know it's a bit of a...
I love country music. I love Charlie Pride.
Yeah, it's a bit of an extrapolation from the maybe the Texas type of example, but it's that same thing. Like if you grew up as a kid in the country, you know, you might have a dad that's working out there who's always playing country music, and it becomes a little bit of a, you know, a part of your musical lexicon.
That's right.
It's just like it's all about you know, those sounds are really familiar to you. Yeah. And I guess if you grew up and you had guitar players around you growing up in Texas or even Nashville, like that's obviously one of the biggest places in America for music. And, you know, it just becomes a bit of the musical setting of your environment.
That's right.
So maybe that stuff creeps in a little bit more into your playing without even...
It's just such an iconic sound from there, hey?
It is.
I can't really think of anywhere off the top of my head that's as iconic that would stand out to me as much.
Maybe not as...
But, you know, I don't have that broad of a musical... landscape, you know, for me. I listen to, you know, it's pretty, got my blinkers on a bit. So I'm sure there's heaps of other examples that I'm not aware of, but
there would be, man. I'm sure, you know, it's even you look at, say, Seattle in the 90s or whatever, and just all those bands coming out of there at that time. I mean, it's quite a different thing. I think, you know, what we're talking about more with the Texas thing is, you know, people being raised on a particular style of music and it just kind of giving this unmistakable kind of flavour to their style, you know? Yeah. It's, anyway, it's a cool thing. Yeah. And there's definitely not going to be another Dime in a hurry, I don't think, you know, it's...
Well, that's what I was... I've spoken to a few guests on here, and one thing that I think is that, to me anyway, there's not really any guitar heroes anymore. Any rock stars?
No, well, I mean, half the problem is that...
Do you think it's because they're so accessible now? You can just go on social media and comment on their shit, and sometimes they comment back.
Well,
so
I think the problem is
that unattainable thing where you can never speak to them, you know. Or
I think there's a few. I think there's a few things going on. It's definitely a layered, nuanced kind of question. Because one of the big things is like, well, what's the what's the kind of currency nowadays for trying to like, why did people used to aspire to being a guitar hero, say, you know, versus like now I feel like it's like people coming up with 40-second grabs, so people can click, you know, and that's kind of the that's the measure of success now. It's like, well, how much engagement am I getting over this little thing? And I feel like that a lot of and because people's attention span has shifted so much.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I was going to say. Is like saying if you're in the 80s, and say you heard Marty Friedman or something, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, this guy's fucking awesome. You listen to heaps of that stuff. To be exposed to anyone else, you're going to have to go find a vinyl somewhere or a tape or whatever, or go to a gig. Yep. Whereas now you can scroll through and there's another guitarist doing shreds, another guitar shredding, another guitarist shredding. Yeah. And so you might have gone, man, that guy's fucking sick. The next guy's, oh, he's fucking cool too. And then, whereas back in the day, you might see one cool guitarist a year.
That's exactly it. Yeah, no, it's definitely an oversaturation issue. But I also think that there's just a really, like, there's a lack of good songwriting happening for,
I agree.
For guitar to exist in that way. And it's, it seems that a lot of, you know, I don't know what... I guess it all comes back to survival in a way. It's like if I'm 17 now and I'm very good at guitar and I want to have a platform where I can do guitar really well as a job. How can I do that? Like where can I go to do it, to monetize it, to survive with it?
You're not having to get in a van anymore and travel across the country. And
that's it. It's like, and where am I going to get the most engagement? And I guess now with the connectivity of that the internet offers, you don't have to go anywhere else to do it anymore. And if you understand all the other, be it the stuff that we hate, you know, the social media side of the marketing side of putting yourself out there. But if you understand how all that works and you tapped into that and you're a good player and you can keep, you know, building content, you know, that might turn into a lot of followers and a fan base and a lot of money or something like that. But, you know, the problem is that as humans, we're all, you know, at the mercy of the same limitations, and one of the biggest ones is time. And it's like you only got, and it's like if you're spending all your time trying to make content to push on, you know, on Instagram or whatever, well, you're limited in time to maybe do stuff that maybe has a little bit more depth. And and I mean, again, this is all subjective. Like maybe for these people, they're getting a great sense of satisfaction out of, you know, making these little grabs and 10,000 people clicking like or whatever.
Yeah, well, I think
like,
now,
you know,
and that's the struggle with being in a band now for us anyway. For our band is, it appears to me that it's not really the quality of the music's not that important anymore now. It's more like what's going to grab their attention, because you might have a cool riff that's in the bridge of the song. No one's going to listen to 3 minutes to get to that cool riff unless they really want to sit down and listen to it. But if you're scrolling through your phone, you're not going to. So if you want to be noticed on social media, it's like what's quick, what's going to catch them. And it kind of sucks because I can't be fucked with that.
No.
I'll just, you know, but...
it's hard. It's hard, man. I don't know. I don't know really what the answer is, and I think, you know, it's a bit. It's just the way that the world works, though, as well. I think that out of every situation, you know, this comes back to like a bit of a deeper philosophical type of thought process, but just about how out of chaos in the world, in the universe, order kind of emerges. You know, a new kind of order emerges, and things will continue shifting, you know.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not sustainable how it is, because it's, what are you going to do? Get to from 40-second clips to 30 to 20 to 10.
Yeah,
it's eventually gonna eat itself up, and something else is gonna have to
will come out of it. Yeah, I think so for sure.
I'm not that bothered anymore. I've learned to let go of, like, I'm not going to make anywhere near as much money in a band as what I do at my job, and no one in our band is going to. Yeah. If we're all making $1,000 a week, say, or $1,500 each a week in the hand, what bands do you know that make $7,000, $7,500 a week every week to be able to pay mortgages and bills and car payments and fucking feed their kids and all that shit?
Look, I know some of the people in those some of the bigger bands, and even those guys are doing it real tough.
Absolutely,
and you even see now, there's guys like I've seen Devin Townsend come out recently, and a lot of other guys, and they're just saying it's just too expensive now for them to even do a lot of what they do. Like, touring is kind of almost off the table. So, they're going and doing this thing that they've spent their whole lives trying to get as prolific as they are and as skilled as they are and build a fan base and everything. And then it's so sad that they can't even afford to go and do this thing and bring it to people, because they'll actually do it at a loss. Not only will they not make a lot of money, they'll make no money. It's like they can't sustain themselves doing that. And excuse me. I think that's a real shame. If there's anything that I've learnt from the last kind of the happenings of the last couple of years, is that we need music and pure thing. We need art and expression and these type of things more than ever, and it's just not monetarily and logistically viable for a lot of these people anymore. And it's
I think eventually it's going to flip and it'll come back boomerang back in a positive way, because I think it's it's obviously it's going in a negative direction. I don't think anyone can argue that.
No.
So I think it's like anything. Obviously it's driven probably by greed as well, and that's eventually it's going to eat itself up, and it's going to turn around and come back. But I guess it all depends on what your motivations are with your music, and then that brings me to what's with your band, this Ghost of Aquarius. What's your big plan with that at the moment?
Well, it didn't really start off as anything other than for me just to kind of put these songs together for myself. And I started learning, I've been studying psych at UWA for the last kind of 4 or 5 years, and they had some electronic music units there available. There's actually a degree, and I thought, wow, that's really interesting. Maybe I should go check out a couple of these units as a little side thing to what I was doing, because I actually want you to take extra units that are outside your study discipline. And so I thought,
why is that?
Well, it's just, the idea is just a broadening thing, so that you get some other experience with different things that that helps you to just have a better understanding of all things. I think to learn things outside of the core discipline. I think that's their motivation with it anyway. And anyway, you have so many units you have to do for your psychology unit, and then you have to actually fill it up with some other units. Your degree. And I started doing these music units. I was like, fuck, this is actually awesome. And one of the really good things was it forced me to have to learn Ableton. I had to learn it.
Yeah.
And in the past, sometimes with like different DAWs and things like that, if I ran into issues with it, I'd just get quite disheartened.
Yeah.
And be like, oh man, I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna leave this. It's like too hard basket. But with this, any kind of hurdles I came up against, I was like, shit, if I don't figure this out, I'm going to fail this unit.
Yeah.
So I have to, and so I'd go ask questions and dig deeper into videos and kind of come away from things frustrated, but then come back to it as you do, you know.
Yeah.
And so, I effectively learnt a bunch of Ableton stuff, and it was the most liberating thing for me ever, was being able to actually produce myself and work on my own music in my own time and be able to get it to a point where I was pretty happy with it. I've never been able to do that in my whole life. I've never had the skills. I've always been reliant on other people to be able to make music. And so nothing would ever end up getting done prior to that, unless I did things in where I was part of a band or whatever, an original band.
Or probably prepared to pay a lot of money.
That's it, because I would need to. I wouldn't get everything finished and structured and arranged to a point where I was ready to go do anything with it. But now I could do it all on my own. Yeah. So it was the most liberating thing that's ever happened for me musically. Like, no, not being dramatic. Like, it was just a huge.
What's Ableton for?
Well, Ableton.
Is that mostly synth?
It's probably one of the best, as far as I know, one of the best kind of MIDI, one of the best, doors for manipulating MIDI and, writing drums and things like that. And, it's traditionally, I think, used a lot for EDM and dance music and things like that. But it's actually, it's got a particular view in there called session view, where instead of how all doors are normally like left to right, so the song starts here and you add bits in and then it goes. So instead, the tracks kind of go vertically, and you can create little clips all over the place. You can kind of mix and match things together, almost like a DJ or something like that, playing these bits off against each other. It's really good for creativity, but you can still actually arrange all these little clips on horizontal tracks, and you can play them with like a master play for each horizontal kind of line on the right. So what you can do is like grab a little bit here and go, I like this guitar riff. I'll stick it up here on the top line next to this bass part. And then you can just hit play over here and it'll play them together straight away.
Oh, okay.
And so then you can kind of arrange your song like here and get a sense of how things might work. So
it's mostly for electronics, so you don't have any guitar in that, hey?
No, you can do audio clips as well, so you can do anything. It's got samplers built into it as well. So like Daddy at the start, there's that weird kind of like, it's like a vocal this weird thing. Yeah. I've actually put a vocal of mine that was shit into the sampler, and then just used a thing to trigger different parts of my vocal wave. So I've got a whole wave of vocal. So, at this point of the vocal wave, I might have been going, and at the start of the vocal wave, I might have been going, I don't know. It's maybe a bad example, but I can actually trigger different parts of that one vocal wave and go, and it kind of mixes everything around.
That's cool.
And then I can turn that into like like an actual wave.
I might have to look into it.
You can do some really cool stuff with it, and it's awesome for MIDI. It's just really easy
I've really dug, and right now I'm spending a lot of time on MIDI, almost more than guitar, because I'm just trying to flesh out our songs and make them bigger.
It's endless, man, and I love the production. I love interesting production, and I grew up even on bands like Pink Floyd that were the OGs of doing this kind of progressive type different stuff, and they were doing it with like obviously like real analog equipment and like crazy shit. It's a lot easier now. Like the power that you have in this software is ridiculous. So anyway, the plan was just to write some music that I liked.
How many songs do you have written?
Well, I've written like a concept album. So I've written about seven tracks, and they all it all bolts together. But it's cost me a lot of money. I've spent. I got a mate of mine to play session drums on my track. So I've got a Roland drum kit as well. So I love drums, and I'm not, by no stretch would I call myself a good drummer, but I've got a good brain for drums, much like yourself. I think you've got a good brain for drums as well. And so I would get on the Roland kit, and I would do a loop of, say, 16 bars on Ableton. I might have a guitar riff or something.
Yeah.
And I'll just get on the drums, and I will record all the MIDI from the Roland kit, all my parts, and then I'll use Easy Drummer to replace all the sounds later, and I'll just keep playing until I find grooves that I like, and then I'll grab fills and things like that from Easy Drummer from the library, just to to kind of give it more of a drummer's actual feel throughout the song. Kind of arrange the drums like that, and then I handed it over to this mate. I personally think he's one of the best drummers in the country. His name's Brody Simpson. This guy is a freak.
I know who he is.
Brody's insane, man, and he's
big dude.
Big dude, yeah. And he's doing like stuff for Grammy winners and stuff in Nashville. Like the stuff he's doing is crazy, and his setup is incredible. Like he's got the studio in Myrie, so we actually did all the drum tracking over the internet. So he's got a camera overlooking his drum kit.
Yeah.
And then he's got Pro Tools, like a full mix coming out of a separate streaming app, sending the audio straight out of Pro Tools to you. So I'm at home. He's got all my stems for my session, and I'm watching him drum, and he's sitting here talking to me as well. But I'm listening to the audio in real time over the internet as he's playing to my tracks.
Cool, yeah.
And then so he would do a take, and he's like, what did you think about that? And I'm like, yeah, man, that was sick. Can you instead, how you doing the ride in that section on the one? Can you just put it on the ends, just on the offbeats or whatever? And he would then like this, and then you'd do it, and then we'd get to the end of the track, and he would send me back a comp the next day of like all the drums. So you'd have like kick in, kick out, left and right room mics, left and right overheads, just like as pro as you can get, So then it can go hand these drums to the mix engineer, which is Matt Templeman, and he can just put it all together. And
what about the vocals? I
tracked all the vocals at home.
So who's singing on it though?
So on Daddy, I'm singing all the vocals apart from the very last two choruses. So I'm singing all of it. The last two choruses is a guy named Lee Davies. He's actually from Melbourne. So again, he
correspondence.
Yeah, we just did this stuff over the internet. I kind of had written the vocals, like the melody and everything. I couldn't really sing it. I could sometimes come up with these parts that are outside of my range, and I could just hear this is where it needs to go. And I said, man, these are the lyrics. This is kind of the part. Kind of sang it like falsetto or whatever, because I don't have that high range. And we did a bit of to and fro, and then he sent it back to me. So nearly everything. The whole thing has done, my little studio in Lakelands, which is nowhere near as cool as this. I've got little kids coming in all the time, I mean, you got that to a degree, I'm sure too.
They come in sometimes, but
I did all the guitars at home, did all my vocals at home, and the bass. I was really fortunate to have Jono from Carnival played bass on the tracks, and he's got a little studio at Foxhole in Bassendean, and we pulled a couple of all-nighters there to get this bass. But again, like I'd kind of written bass at home to get the track to the end of the track, you know what I mean, just to arrange the tracks,
and then he kind of embellishes it.
Just
do they A lot of these musos, they don't mind you kind of coaching them on how you want it. Are they cool?
No, they were both really, really cool.
I suppose because you're almost acting like a producer anyway, then really, aren't you? So they'd have to be used to that, because if they're spending time in studios, I'm sure there's producers that go, look, you really should maybe try this, or.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And I mean, look, I paid everybody for their time and stuff like that. I mean, even so, I'm very fortunate to have these people as friends where they could do it for me at a reasonable price. I mean, still, man, it's just so expensive. Even if you've got good friends, I still think. I mean, Daddy probably cost me $2,000. From start to finish to get that song
that's not too bad
done. No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good, and I mean to the level that I think that we've got it to them, and there's still, it's like anything, this stuff is never done, is it? It's like I don't know who was it that said it. Maybe it was I'm sure a lot of people have said it. I think it might have been Nigel Goodrich that produces all Radiohead stuff.
Yeah,
and he was saying it's. The music's never ever finished. It's just when you're prepared to walk away. It's like it's always a work in progress. And I always listen
to the old stuff, and I'm like, if I could redo this now, it would be so much better.
Yeah. It's but it's like that even with our with our favourite records. I mean, if you listen back to
you can always
Cowboys from Hell or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The production is very different in Cowboys from Hell to say. Vulgar or Fabian Driven or something, but at the same time, like there's something. It's kind of like a bad tattoo from when you're 18 or something.
That's right.
There's something cool about that captured a moment in time,
and you can always overdo it too. I'm sure if they sat there, if they had the luxury of no time limits from a record company, and they sat there, it might have turned out worse. Because sometimes you catch that lightning in a bottle, and it's like, that's how it needs to sound. That's as good as it's ever going to sound. Yeah. And technically, I could do this and change that, but it's not going to have what it,
Man, I've listened to, stuff even, from guys I know from around town. The best version I ever heard of this particular song, it was recorded in just the most terrible circumstance you've ever seen. Like,
a lot of times my demos on here, because I'll demo everything, and so sometimes I get embarrassed when people come over and I show them in Reaper, because guitar riffs and solos are chopped, and they must go, man, this guy's shit at guitar. But it's like, sometimes there'll be the end of the riff, and I'm like, wait, I'm going to put the end of the riff there, and I'm going to move that there. And then I'm like, wait, that sounds better. And then later, of course, I'm going to play it properly. But fuck, where was I going with this? Sorry, you're right. So the demos, and then and then when I re-record it all, redo everything and do it properly, it's I reckon probably a fair percent of the time it's not as good. Technically, it's played better, but something's lost. It's like I've put it under the microscope too much and perfected it too much that it's kind of lost like swing to it or sleaziness that a riff might have or something. And heaps of our demos, I'm like, they sound shit, like as far as quality wise, audio quality, but because they're not then mixed and mastered by this guy that we use, Gareth Hargraves. And he obviously does whatever he does to boost the levels of things and compresses it and does whatever the fuck he does to make it sound really good. But the demo's just got something about it that's, you can never capture it, eh?
No, you can't. And there's like, it's even sometimes when you come up with, you'll come up with an idea and you just keep finding other ideas in that moment, and it just all kind of comes out. It's this stream of consciousness.
Sometimes you'll write a song in a day or a couple, but then sometimes it might take you 6 months to write another song.
Well, it can be really hard too, right? It's like sometimes I feel like, and you see this a lot, and you're starting to do more gigs now and stuff with your band too, right? And there's just something, like, I'm not spiritual, but I'm definitely into this idea that just everything is energy. Everything, like our thoughts, our emotions, everything has a frequency to it. And, when you're on a certain day, I'll pick up a guitar and there's something going on with my mood that day the way I'm thinking, what's going, you know, how my interactions have gone with certain people, what the weather looks like through the window of where I'm playing.
Yeah.
Just, you know, all of these things. There's all of these elements that make up this unique condition, which will never, ever be repeated again.
Yeah.
And when I start playing, you know, my playing is coming through the lens of all of that, and it's interacting with all of that. And sometimes it can be really hard to get back to that place you were at when you were in that space where that initial thing came up. It can be really hard to get back there.
Exactly.
Probably impossible almost, you know.
That's
it just
right.
ends up being something else, you know.
Well, then when you're doing your demo and then when you do the final, you're really emulating whatever you were feeling at the time. Because you're not going to be in that headspace, because you're sitting down and going, right, I'm not writing a song now. The song's written now. I'm going to perfect it.
Yep.
And then you're going to lose all that emotion or whatever you had, because sometimes even like a little thing in a lead, you can just never get it. There's that the bend did something that you can't get it to do now, and you know how you bends for me and vibrato. It's like you always see people when they do big bends, they do a weird facial expression.
It's very expressive, eh?
Yeah, but it is because sometimes you're like, I don't know, you just there's something about a big bend that.
I'm totally with you.
Yeah,
yeah. It's the vibrato is like the voice of a guitarist, isn't it? You know?
Absolutely. And I was showing me and this guy yesterday, because he plays guitar as well. The other guest I had, and we were just talking about vibrato, and then I was saying I was teaching our other guitarist Sam in our band. He doesn't really play any lead.
Okay.
And every now and then I'll show him little licks and phrasing and that, and then I'll say it's really important sometimes that you don't always put vibrato on something straight away, and you don't do it at that one speed.
Yeah.
Sometimes you like get it slow, and then at the end you might speed it up, or it might be fast. Then at the end you slow it down, and it's contextual to what you're trying to do. And then sometimes you won't do the vibrato till you pull a bend up and hold it, then you'll slowly ring the vibrato.
Right. Yeah.
And it depends on what you're trying to say with it.
Yeah, context.
Yeah. And people, there's so many guitarists out there that you see play leads, and it's just like, I'm not bagging anyone, but you're like, man, it'd be so much better if you did the vibrato, if you practice your vibrato, because some people were just terrible at it. They just do like a wobble, and it's like, oh,
it's a very hard thing.
Like it hurts to hear.
It's a hard thing to teach as well.
Yeah, I don't think you really can teach it either, or you can teach it to an extent, but a lot of it's going to be like, you're not, you shouldn't be playing it how you think it should be played. You should be playing how you think it should feel to play, or something, if that makes sense.
It's interesting as well, you know, like jazz players, they actually a lot of the time use no vibrato, and they don't bend a lot of the time.
That's the one thing I noticed with Frank Zappa, because I was listening to that Joe's Garage.
Yeah,
I love that.
He's awesome, man.
Yeah, but heaps of it's like you're saying. There's some stuff. There's like no vibrato or something, and it's really random, and it's some of that stuff's so fucking cool, man. He was a fucking genius.
Yeah, I've been talking about him only in like the last day or so. I saw a little video come up of him on Instagram, and it was just, you know, you would have seen some of his interviews and stuff like that. He's such a profound kind of guy.
Yeah, he gets I find he's really misunderstood.
Totally, yeah.
And his son
Dweezil's got awesome guitars. Yeah, but he was just talking about, you know, how he never ever played the same solo twice. You know, like and he was saying that, you know, he really feels that the solo section in a song is, you know, the guitarist's opportunity to kind of really express themselves and say something different in that moment.
And that's so cool that if you saw him live, so you go, oh, I saw him in fucking Texas.
Yeah.
And then someone goes, oh, I saw him in fucking somewhere else.
It would never be the same.
It'll be like, oh, yeah, well, you should have heard the solo that he did on you know, whatever song. Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, you should have heard the way he did it on this one.
Yeah.
It'd be so cool that you if you went to a gig, someone can't go, oh, I already heard him. I heard him do that lead at this other. Yeah. Because it'd be like, no, you wouldn't have, because he did something completely different. Yeah. And it's almost like if you go to his gig, you can walk away knowing that what you heard that night, no one else heard that wasn't there.
Yeah.
And that's fucking cool.
Oh, it is, man, and that's one of the.
You got to be good at it though. To
be able to do it.
You can do that because you know the guitar so well. Me, I couldn't. I still have blank spots when I'm going up the neck. I'm like, oh fuck, where'd I go next?
But I still make plenty of mistakes, man. I really do, and like I always try to keep it fresh for sure. Like I love that, and you know. With the cover gigs, which I still do a few, I don't do as many as I used to, and I don't really chase them anymore. I get calls to do things, and one of the things that I enjoy most, which I think terrifies a lot of other people, is having no idea what's actually going to happen. So, like, I'll show up at gigs sometimes with, at least one musician that I've never ever played with.
Yeah, right.
And we've had no prior discussion about what we're going to play at all. Yeah. None. And it's just like, and we'll get on stage. We still won't even really talk about it before the gig. And I'll get on stage and I'll go, this song kind of, it starts in F, then it goes to like a D minor and then like a B flat.
Yeah.
And then just kind of, I think there's a G minor in there somewhere. Just watch me, you'll see it come up,
Yeah.
And some of the best jams I've ever had with people, and it's always like a unique type of like sound as well, because there's no kind of preconceptions about it other than I might know the overall structure of the track.
Yeah.
It will just emerge as its own kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like it's a bit of an ego stroking thing for me personally. Like I'll get to the end of it, and if people are like enjoying it and clapping, it's kind of like a little side joke, inside joke. I'm like, fuck, how do we get through that?
Yeah.
And to actually put yourself in those situations and come out the other side of it. There's a bit of satisfaction in that. Whereas I've done some gigs, there's a video on YouTube actually we did years ago at the Newport. They had this series of gigs and they were called Record Club.
Yeah.
And you would put a band together specifically for the gig, and it's like all well-known Perth musicians. And people would do an album from start to finish, like an iconic album. And I did a bunch of them, like I did Prince, Purple Rain, like Beatles, Abbey Road. There was so many. Metallica Black Album, did that. That was really fun.
Yeah.
But one of the albums we did was Morning View, the Incubus record.
Okay.
And man, this band was just off the hook. Like Brody on drums, had this guy Nick Delina, who's like just sounds like Brandon Boyd, like exactly the same. And we played this album and we rehearsed it a couple of times, and like I said, it's on YouTube. We did the whole album start to finish, and it sounded like pretty much like the album. But I came away at the end of it just going, you know what? Who really gives a fuck? Like we just did something of someone else's exactly the same. And like obviously there's some level of achievement in that, like to be musically onto it enough and to be able to reproduce it to that level. But it just kind of feels a bit empty to me. It's a bit like I compare it a lot to sex. It's like it's better if you're doing it with somebody that you really want it, that you both really want to be there, and it's otherwise it's like prostitution. I imagine that just I could never do that, and I realise this is a bit of a departure from what we're talking about, but I feel like musical creativity. It's like it's really special.
Yeah,
it's really special, and when you're just doing something of someone else's exactly the way that they did it, it really cheapens it. It just doesn't.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
I don't get a lot from it.
That's why I just don't really enjoy playing covers at all. And that's nothing against other people that do.
Sure.
I'm sure you get something out of it that that's why you keep doing it. But for me,
money.
But
no, I have some good times. As well.
But I suppose you're getting out in front of people and having fun. But
yeah, man, it's just a bit of a party.
Yeah, I've just never bothered to really. I have learnt things, obviously, over the years, learnt band songs, but I probably could play one or two riffs right now, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And I always go, I'll listen to a song in the car on the way to work or way home, and I'm like, when I get home, I'm going to learn that song. And I get like halfway through, and I'm like, I'm over it. And then I want to write my own shit.
Yeah.
I just don't know why, but
no, man, it's a really great way to be. You know, we've got some people in life that you know, you've got extremes, right? You've got some people that will only ever just copy other people's stuff. That's all they'll ever do. Yeah. And then there's, at the other end of things, you know, you've got people that are just purely into art. And it's never really resonated for them at all to just do something of someone else's. It's like the antithesis of the feeling that draws them to art. But then in between those two extremes, you've got everybody else. Like I've always played covers, but have really enjoyed trying to put my own spin on things and really enjoyed trying to create my own sound. I never really had the confidence early on to really dig in and try and finish my own songs. Like I'd come up with riffs and things like that. A lot of it was just self-doubt. You know, I just really didn't think I could do it, and I still suffer with that a lot now. And I also think too, you know, it's sometimes what happens is people can get so caught up in technicality and so caught up in maybe learning other people's things that they forget that creativity is a totally separate skill. Yeah. So you could have somebody that could play, you know, I don't know, any Malmsteen track or something like that, and they've got all the and they can play all the Malmsteen songs. Yeah. Well, that doesn't suddenly mean that they can write a song. They might have spent their whole life trying to. And you know, when I teach a little bit of guitar, and one of the things I do now with kids, you know, is right at the beginning is try to get them into thinking about the guitar and music in a creative way, because I always see it as like, it's almost like two starting points, you know. And so here's like, I don't know, it might be learning technique. And, you know, one of the ways that you learn technique early on is to learn other people's songs, right? That's the application of technique. So it might be, you know, you learn a Metallica riff or something, you know, that you know, you might be learning For Whom the Bell Tolls. That teaches you how to palm mute, how to move power chords around, you know, get those sounds. So there's like a goal there to work towards. So, you know, you level up at the technical side of things, but the creative thing hasn't really moved yet. You know, that's the way I look at it. It's just sitting here, and you can keep going, and then it can almost become a bit stifling. You get so good with the technicality side of it, and then you think, oh, but I can't. I want to try and make something that, you know, I can play almost anything now. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you can write anything, and it can become quite difficult, because you're like, man, I can do all this stuff, I can play anything, but I'm trying to write, you know, my own song, and it sounds like shit. Yeah. And it's like, well, man, you never took off over here, you know. You just you didn't put any work into it. I'm not sure if that analogy kind of makes sense. But
it does. Yeah, definitely. There's heaps of examples of people that are, you see it on social media, that are great guitarists, but then, but in my opinion, but it's all subjective. But some of their music, you're like, they're not a very good songwriter. Yeah,
I mean, Rusty Cooley's of the world, you know. I mean, maybe Rusty Cooley has some good songs I haven't heard, or you know.
Yeah, I'm not real familiar with his stuff. I've listened to a few of the things, obviously, because he's an Ormsby artist.
I saw that.
And he's obviously fucking amazing at shredding. Yeah. But can't say I really checked any of his stuff out. I think I might have checked out That Day of Reckoning, maybe because I know he was in a band called that. But it was nothing that really grabbed me. You know, there's heaps of guys out there that are really, really good at guitar that maybe aren't great songwriters, and then there's guys that are awesome songwriters that aren't probably great at guitar. Like there's just an example I'm going to throw out there. Say Blink 182. You know, you don't see them shredding.
No.
But they're fucking awesome at writing songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit stylistic with them too, isn't it? It's kind of like if you just launched into some shredding solo, it'd be a bit like contextually weird. Yeah. But be pretty funny though. Be pretty funny. It would be. Mate, it's just funny though, like because Travis Barker, he's definitely like an awesome drummer. Yeah.
Punk drummers are always pretty energetic.
Yeah, they have to be.
Yeah.
I remember when I was young, I used to like Friends of Rom, you know, the Australian band, and their drummer was really good, and even you know, super high energy, and even trying to play some of the rhythms and stuff and just make them sound really tight. Yeah, it's quite challenging, and that's the other thing too. Is it's just like you know, you've got the lead side of things, and then rhythm is such a
and there's so much nuance as well because punk drummers play ahead of the beat, and then you know, and that's another thing about songwriting is when to know when to sit back and go behind the beat or ahead of it or whatever, you know what I mean, or give it some urgency. Or sometimes, and there's all these nuances that a lot of people wouldn't understand. And then there's guys that you wouldn't think are awesome at guitar that are, like say, I know everyone knows now Mark Tremonti's fucking great. Everyone knows that now, but when Alter Bridge come out, everyone's like, isn't that the guy from Creed? Isn't he just play like fucking 4 chords songs or whatever, like cock rock shit, and it's like the guy's like a closet fucking amazing guitarist, loves speed metal, and then you see his leads in Alter Bridge and they're great, awesome player, and there's so many examples of guys like that. Another one is that a lot of people don't know, but I think a lot of guitarists probably know, but you know, John Mayer.
Oh man, John Mayer's a freak.
To me, I prefer him over Joe Bonamassa.
Oh, I personally don't like Joe Bonamassa. Yeah. Like I'm just not a fan. I feel like he kind of overcooks a lot of stuff. Yeah. My old man's obsessed with him and gave me one of his DVDs once, and I watched it, and the guy can play, yeah, of course, but I'm just like, ain't my thing. But then John Mayer, I never knew that he could shred. And then I saw something, I think, on YouTube, and I was like, what the fuck? And then he has this little solo in that song, that Heartbreak Warfare. Oh, yeah. You know that song? Yeah, I know the song.
I love that little lead. And that's actually, it's an easy lead, but it's not easy to play it the way he plays it, because he does this cool little whammy stuff. I don't know, it's just the way he plays, and it's fucking, I love that lead on that song. And most people probably just like, what lead? Is there a lead in that song? And I'm like, yeah, there is, and that's fucking awesome. I love it. Dude,
John Mayer is insanely good, you know, and to be able to.
But most people don't know.
No, and to be able to, and I mean but that's the whole thing. That's one of the things that makes him so good is that he's able to be as technically brilliant as he is, and it's not in your face.
Yeah, he's not. You know, I want to tap and fucking sweep, and
you know, it's and man, his songs are clever. Like he knows how to write songs. He's got a great voice. He uses things in the right way at the right time, and you know that's what makes him so damn good. And he can appeal. He can appeal to everybody, from like the person that likes a pop song to the real like you know, Muso's Muso, because some of the stuff he like, even some of his earlier stuff like Neon. If you try and play that riff and play it well, I've only heard one guitarist that I know, you know, a young Mandra guy. Shout out to Alex Pastrucci. He nails it. It's so hard to play and to play it well. It's very, very tricky stuff. So yeah, I'm a huge John Mayer fan. Yeah, he's great.
Well, another example is this is probably going to be a polarizing opinion, but Michelangelo Badio.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Great player. Fuck, he just can't write for shit, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've saw it, and he seems like such a nice dude too. He does, seems like a great guy. But I've watched some. I think he's on YouTube and Instagram now, and he's got a little thing going where he plays stuff. And I saw him try to play some. Might have been, was it Cemetery Gates or something? Might have been a solo that had feel in it, and I was like, nah, you don't have it, man. But great player, clearly.
Technically can do things that neither of us will ever be capable of.
But he's just he's just. Oh man, I don't think he's a great songwriter.
Oh man, he's it's bordering on unlistenable.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
What's about it? I'm pretty careful about what I say about people online and stuff like that. So I've kind of fucked that. But
I think about that sometimes. I'm like, what if one time I could get him on the podcast? Yeah. You might want to come on.
I mean, look, that's the whole thing about music too, that you need to understand, and it's been one of the really hard things for me, getting back to releasing my own music, is kind of just trying to let go of the fact that once you put it out there, it's out there, and some people are going to hate it. Some people are going to think it's shit. Some people will like it. A lot of the time you'll just never even know. And it's one of the exciting things about it too, right? It's just like there's so many possibilities of how it might end up, but we all need to understand that as artists, that the fact that not everybody will like our stuff is actually one of the things that appeals to us and inspires you to do it. You want to do something different,
If everyone liked it, I think it'd be boring. It's good because it's good to win people over. Feels good.
Yeah, 100%. If everybody gets an award,
well then, and that's like just like if you're super rich, nothing has value to you. So you see why a lot of super rich people are so depressed, because there's no challenge.
No.
For if you could just go buy whatever car you want and buy whatever house you want, I think that'd be fucking shit. As much as I think it'd be great to have like a comfortable amount of wealth. But
me too.
So imagine being like Elon Musk rich or bit, but that's why Elon Musk is always trying to create new things, I guess, because you got to imagine if you had his amount of money and you were just sitting around, and you could nothing would have value, because you go, I could buy a Bugatti, $3 million, and that's pocket change to someone like him. There'd be no value to anything.
I know exactly what you're saying, and it's like, it's also just I think celebrity is the same type of issue as what I'm about to describe. It's just like when you got money and people know you've got money, it must be hard at times to know who genuinely is there because they just really want to be around you.
Absolutely.
It's like I'm completely broke. I have no money.
But you're pretty happy, aren't you?
Oh, that's debatable. Yeah. But I'm really happy with the things that are in my life.
Yeah.
I get a huge amount of value out of that. And but I know that the people that are in my life as well are there because they want to be there.
That's right.
I don't ever have to think, oh, Marty's coming over again. He probably just wants to drink my booze that's on the top shelf and eat lobster mornay, because I'm rich, bitch.
Well, that's one thing with my wife. I'm always like, why do you marry me? And I don't say that out of like joking. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know where you're seeing me.
It's a good shaped head. That's what it is.
Maybe. No, but you know what I mean? I just don't get it. But she's obviously there because she wants to be, because she could piss off if she wanted to, but she doesn't.
I totally understand.
I'm sure there's people that could offer her more than I can in some ways, but maybe there's obviously something I don't see in myself that I offer her that I don't see. I don't know what it is, but because I don't think I'm awesome. I'm not one of them people that goes around has a high opinion of myself. I don't also think I'm shit, but you know what I mean.
But that's why you're driven to continuing to push with everything that you're doing. I always want to be better. You want to do better, and part of having that personality as well is that often we're very self-critical, because that's the only way that you can really progress, is to be objective about what you're doing. Like to actually sit down and go, well, this was my target. This is where I'm I think I'm currently at.
Yeah.
Where do I need to go from here?
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, the best musicians I've ever known, they're all super humble because the only way that you can get that good is to keep working on shit and assessing yourself.
If you already think you're the greatest, where do you
go from there?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you got nothing to aspire to because you're already the best.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's good. So you can kind of see that, that thought process, which I definitely share, man. Like I 100% do. Just think often, why did this person want to be around me? Or, why is my wife here? And, I suffer a bit with the mental illness stuff as well, anxiety and things. And so, sometimes I can be a difficult catch at best, I think, for someone like my wife. But, the same, there must be things that they're really drawn to that are hard to see when you're constantly trying to just do better and be better and going, nah, this isn't good enough.
Right, sometimes I think, man, there's definitely someone better out there for you than me. And, because I'm quite selfish, and I think a lot of artists are selfish. You have to be because if I just go, you know what, let's just go to the park and play with the kids all day, every day, and then we're going to do everything that the wife wants to do and all that, well, then I'd never really do this music stuff.
No.
And so, I suppose, you got to be selfish. It's a hard balance, though, because then it's like, at what point do I stop and then go out there and, because I've had kids, it was my choice to have kids.
That's right.
So it's my responsibility to
be a dad.
Yeah, be a dad. And it's such a struggle sometimes because I'm like, but I really want to fucking work on this idea.
Yeah.
And because as soon as I walk out of this room, the idea is going to disappear. And that could have been the idea that's fucking...
the killer one.
The killer one that got me famous or something,
Yeah. Man, I couldn't relate more. I've got 3 kids and... it's always a balancing act, and that in itself, just knowing that that's in the back of your head, it's like you're working on guitar and you know that you're meant to be taking the kids to the pool in half an hour's time, and that's kind of just this little intrusion in what you're trying to do. You're like, oh God, it's like really hard to get right into it, and then your missus is saying, "Come on, like you need to get it together." Like
they don't get it either. They don't get it.
Nah, it's
But it's good that they don't, because otherwise you would just be in here forever and you neglect them, and you need someone to go. And I think everything in life's a balance. Just like I was speaking with a guest yesterday, and we were saying, I can be really negative. I'm super pessimistic, and my missus says that. And I say, well, I'm a realist. I need to be always proven something. I won't just, you know what I mean? Be it, my brothers have struggled with like drug addiction and then getting on and off it, and then mum might be like, one of your brothers, he's definitely getting, I'll believe when I see it. And then why do you have to be negative? Because then, that way I don't get let down.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
And then that's my coping mechanism, I guess.
Yep.
And my wife might go, you're super negative things. It's like, no, to me, I'm just a realist, and I just don't, and I don't celebrate mediocrity.
Yeah.
If you want praise from me, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
And that might sound bad, but it's just like I'm being realistic. I'm not everyone gets a fucking participation award.
No, that's right.
So
I'm totally with you. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And it's a lot of people see that as harsh or negativity, and it's like I was saying to the guy yesterday, I'm like, but if you're always then positive all the time, then you're going to have a mental breakdown, because you can't fake being happy all the time, because let's face it, this world's not perfect.
No.
But the thing is, if you didn't have hard times, then you need hard times, and you need then good
to
times
know the
as
good
well.
times. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And so it's all a balance. If you look at everything, it's a balance. And then, like, say the other day, mum's looking on her phone and she's like, it's 3 people over east died in a car crash. I said, this might sound harsh. I said, who gives a fuck? People die every fucking day. There's people dying now in Ukraine, or there's people getting their arms chopped off in Somalia.
That's right.
And what am I going to do about it?
Yeah, and I think, now because of...
Doesn't mean wouldn't care about them people. Of course I have compassion, but I'm like, I'm not going to go read on my phone and go, people died.
Well, I've had to cut myself off to a lot of that stuff as well.
I said to him, this shit's
just too much.
I said, you know what you should be doing instead of reading them news articles? Go educate yourself on your phone, look something up, look up whatever. I'm always going down rabbit holes looking up random shit all the fucking time. Like yesterday I was reading about Tajikistan.
Oh, right.
Don't know why. I was just looking it up.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, what that country's all about. And the dude that runs it, and he wrote a book about himself, and people had to read it, and I just found that interesting.
Yeah.
And sure, right now I can't recite anything about it, but at the time I was like, oh, that's cool.
Absolutely, man. No, I try and do the same thing. I tend to get very obsessive about things, So, like, I'll spend lots of time, like whatever I happen to be into, 1 month or 1 week or whatever. I'll be like right into it. I've made the mistake of downloading Twitter a while back, and I spent a bit of time on there.
Like a day, but I got banned really quick because oh man, that place is fucking toxic. It's like if someone was to go, can you show me mental illness? I know people can feel it, but can you show me mental illness? I go, log onto Twitter. Because there's people arguing like that and the biggest one for me is the politics, the US politics and gender arguments, and it's just like fucking, and no one can agree, and everyone wants to be right, and that's the worst thing about social media is no one's cool with being like, you know what, I'm wrong. Everyone's like, oh, fucking, they'll just cherry pick things and, oh, fuck you, I hope you fucking die. And then it goes down these, and they're so hateful, and it's just like, I don't know of much positivity that would come out of Twitter. Maybe.
No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think for me it's just been more interesting to, watch Elon Musk kind of burning the place to the ground. It's been quite funny just to watch. I think I was
looking at the wrong things on there too, probably. You know what I mean?
But I must say, like, it's, and again, tying it back into music, it's really hard. Again, with being quite an obsessive type of person, and I think we need to be a bit obsessive to be able to succeed. Again, it's a balance. It always comes back to trying to find balance. But if you want to be a good musician, you kind of need to be a bit obsessed about it. If you want to be, if you want to write good songs,
if you're just casual about it, you're going
to get casual results.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like, I think
you get out what you put in.
Yeah. And as a musician, if you want to, unless you're signed to some big label where they do everything for you, which looks very different nowadays to what it used to anyway. But, we have to basically engage on social media and try and connect with people on there. And it's easy to then start to get a bit sucked in by that landscape to just other random shit, and just because you do log on to check if people are interacting with the stuff that you're putting on there, and then you're just on there and you look at other things, and then 40 minutes has gone by and you've just been looking at shit. Well, I know I'm just speaking of my own experience here, but for me, I definitely think with my own mental health in mind, I wish I could just not use it at all.
Or if you did, you want to make sure that the time you're using it, you're 100% doing what you need to be doing.
That's
on
it.
It's because
almost like you set yourself a time limit. I'll sit there
and just scroll through it, and what I try to do is go, if I'm logging on to do something I need to do, and then get the fuck off it. And I'll scroll through things and comment on a few things because you got to, but sometimes you just endlessly scroll. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. And it's, it has been a definite thing this year, releasing these two singles because of the release of Star Sons. How to maximise engagement to music releases in you need to type in 2022. You know, if you're looking at videos from 2021, they're too old. Like, it's changing so much. There's new stuff that's coming out all the time. Algorithms are changing. People are moving away from different platforms. Like I remember even chatting to Brody Simpson, and he was saying the way that the algorithms were working on Instagram was changing, and that people were moving away a little bit from Instagram for some of the music content, and that was only this year. I mean, I'm paraphrasing him.
I'd love to see a music-only app, one that just artists use and people can log on to.
Yeah.
Because I'm sick of going through Instagram and just seeing just women showing off their buttholes.
Hot babes, yeah. Hot babes with guitars.
Yeah, but just
smiling.
Just like the same shit every chick does to get clicks. It was like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Go get a job.
Yeah. I saw something come up recently.
Do something.
It was like some chick, and she's like, I'm too attractive I don't need to get a real job, you know? It's kind of this attitude now, isn't it? It's a weird time.
Yeah, it is.
It's a weird time in the world.
The OnlyFans thing. And it's funny, you see the guys comment on some of these chicks' photos, because sometimes I'll just read the comments and just so many thirsty guys, and it's
creeping on social
pathetic,
media.
Man.
Yeah, it is.
And they're like, "Oh, you're such a babe."
It's like going to a strip bar.
Yeah, and the guy goes, "Oh, she's into me, man. She's looking at me."
Yeah,
no, she's not.
Yeah, I've been taken to. I remember at one time a mate had friends that were working at what's the kind of Voodoo Lounge.
Yeah.
And I ended up there a couple of times, and there's just these dudes, 2 a.m, you know, like businessmen, and they're underneath this chick's on a table, and they're like, just like this, you know, and looking at this chick and like, and like thinking that they're kind of like in with a chance or something, you know. It's like, dude.
Yeah, I went to the Hollywood Showgirls in the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Back in, I think it might have been around 2009 or 2010 or something like that. And my mates went there, and to be honest, I only did the whole strip club thing. I don't give a fuck about strippers. They don't do anything for me. Yeah, they're sexy, good looking, but I don't really have any time for you because you're a fucking
objectifying yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it ain't my thing, you know. But if other guys like it, whatever, do it. But it ain't my thing anyway. But anyway, we're in there, and I was and I noticed one thing is that I was not interested, and I could tell it bothered a few of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because they're used to guys ogling at them, and I was just like, they could tell I was not into it. And then they try to win you over, I guess, and I was just like, sorry, love. But you see these dudes, there was this guy behind me, and I was overhearing him, he's like, man, fucking, whatever, she's keen, eh? And I'm just like,
pretty sure she's not.
I'm like, she's keen on your money, and you're falling for it.
Yeah, that's it.
And I remember ages ago, I was at the Silver Sands Tavern.
Skimpies.
And Skimpy was there and just going around with the jug.
Kitty.
Yeah, going around with the jug, and all the guys are chucking him money. Oh, yeah, fucking chucking in like $50. I'm like, you're a dickhead, man.
Yeah.
She ain't gonna fuck you.
No.
It's not gonna happen, mate. And you're a fucking idiot for throwing in $50. Better off just giving it to me. I'll be way more appreciative than she is. And I'll even buy you a beer with it, you know. And but what I did, at the time I was working at Alcoa, and I had some movie tickets because they had a social club for Alcoa, and you could buy cheap movie tickets. And I just put 2 movie tickets in there. She's like, what's that? And I said, well, they're worth like $30. Yeah. I said,
I'll take yourself and watch a movie.
Yeah, so so you know, and then she was all offended by it, and all these dudes like, ooh, and I'm like,
yeah.
I was having a laugh, really. I was like, fuck, I thought it was funny.
Do you know, years ago, I got because out in Kalgoorlie, like Skimpy Central, and I used to do, or used to be at least, I used to do a lot of gigs out there.
Yeah.
And I played at this pub in Boulder. It's called the Rock Inn. Yeah. They used to always have skimpies there, and they used to call the jug that they come around with the titty kitty, right? So she comes up to me, and I'm there to play, I'm there for a gig, and I was like, I'm not giving you any money. I'm here to work. I'm working too. She's like, oh, well, you're not looking at me if you're not paying for it, like, I was like, oh, okay. Just kind of laughed it off. And anyway, I had a few drinks. Then I decided that it'd be funny to start a solo kitty. So I put the jug out in front of the band.
Yeah.
I'm saying to the audience, I'm like, right, anytime you want a solo, just come put some money in whatever song I'm playing, I'll just launch into a guitar solo.
Yeah.
In that song. You just come and put money in here. And I ended up getting $80. All these people come, they go put, $2 in there, and I'll just start launching into a solo. The solo
cool
kitty.
Idea.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was just
Should have been a bit butthurt about that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So just, I don't know, it's certain people.
It'd be funny if you made more money than she did.
Yeah.
But doubtful.
No, my tits are decent, but not that good.
It's just I remember I was working as a bartender probably in around 2010, and I it was only for a few months, and I was working at the Ravenswood. Yeah, the Ravo there, and this skimpy rocked up, and she was fucking hot, and when she came in though, man, she was so fucking feral. Oi, where the fuck's the coffee machine, cunt?
Gross.
I was like, yuck.
Yeah, it's funny how
super good looking though, and I was like, wow, you've just let yourself down, haven't you? You're a really good looking chick, and what are you doing? But if she's happy, whatever, or she's probably on a leash from a bikie or something, you know what I mean? So
yeah, but it just goes to show you as well as like I guess just the different values of different people, and for me, I value authenticity and humanity.
Same. Yeah,
and if I talk to somebody and they're a supermodel, but their values are trash, or they treat me in a way where I feel disrespected, they instantly start to lose a lot of their appeal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very fast. Suddenly they kind of appear quite ugly.
Yeah.
I think being a good person is where it at. That's what I find attractive.
Absolutely. 100%, man. And that's authenticity to me is a really big thing.
Yeah, man.
There's so many people that aren't. So many people I know, and they're good people, but they'll say an opinion, and then depending on who's in the room, someone else will say, "Oh no, yeah," and they'll agree with them. And it's like, but there's nothing wrong with having your own opinion, man. It's fine.
But some people are just a bit too unconfident to do it, or it's insecurity, or they need to be propped up by other people, or they need to be
validation.
Or they need the world is made up of a lot of different personality types. So you have leaders, and then you have sheep. Some people just go along with the consensus, and that's how
drivers and passengers.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And you look at how a lot of radio and stuff works. Like I found Triple J fairly unlistenable for the last kind of.
I don't even listen to it.
No, I struggle to listen to it. It sounds very like fad based to me a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like the music of a specific period. Everybody's kind of trying to make music that fits into this sound.
Yeah.
Because that's what the consensus is at that time, and
even the hosts, they're trying to be hip and they're all clicky.
Yeah, just the language and everything is very.
That's fire.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like a grown man. So talking like, that's legit fire AF.
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny when you hear adults saying like the colloquialisms of like the younger generation, and you see it on Instagram, like guys that are trying to be relevant.
Yeah.
Like I'll say older musos, and they're like, "Oh, this latest track's fucking fire, and it's fucking lit AF."
Yeah.
And it's like, just doesn't suit you, mate.
No, that's it. And you certain people out there, they need to feel like they're part of of all of that to feel relevant and to feel secure.
I like people that are just, no matter what the fad is, they're doing their own thing still. I find that so cool. Like this guy's really polarizing, but I fucking love his. Just I don't agree with everything he says, but strangely I agree with a lot of it. That Andrew Tate.
I don't think I know him.
Kickboxer fellow, but he's supposed to be a misogynist and all that, and he's been like banned off all social media and all that because of his opinions, and the press has pretty much just tried to ruin his life, but it hasn't worked because he hasn't apologised because he just believes in what he's saying, and that's like authenticity again. And you know what pisses me off is when celebrities will say something and then they get like torn to shreds online, and then they immediately retract the statement and apologise, and then go donate money to
the cause or whatever.
Yeah, and it's like so pathetic. And then the fact that you're donating the money now, it's like I find that so fucking lame and pathetic, because if you're donating the money now, it's only because they said something.
Yeah.
So it's not like because you all of a sudden care, because you don't. You know what I mean? And I just find it's just pathetic, you know, when you see celebs will say something about, like, say the trans movement or whatever, and then they'll get torn down about it because they might say, look, I think there's only two genders or something, and then they're like, all these people tear them down there, and they're obviously their agents rang them up and going, you need to retract that statement because you're going to lose a movie role.
That's right. Yeah.
If that was me, I'd go, I fucked up. I fucked my career up maybe, but that's what I believe, and I'm sorry that I believe that. If I was uneducated and said it out of ignorance, and I didn't truly know enough about it, and then someone educated me and go, okay, now I see.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it. But when they're saying something that they believe, and then they go back on it, it's like, nah, man, that's fucking lame.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should own it. If you believe that and said it, you should fucking own it.
Well, unfortunately, as well as
I'll never apologise if I never intended harm.
No, that's right.
You know what I mean?
You really believe it.
People are like, no, I'm sorry, but no. And some people hate that, but I was like, well, at least I can go to bed at night and go, well, at least I'm fucking honest.
Yeah.
To myself.
Yeah.
And yes, that pisses some people off, and it's not always, and then people aren't always going to hear what they want to hear, but that's fucking life, and that's the world, and the world isn't fair.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And if you don't like it, well, cool. There's plenty of other opinions out there that align with yours, and maybe go find them and hang out with them or speak to them people then. Because, that's the thing with online and Twitter, is everyone wants them to be like them. Yeah. And wants them to agree with them, and they can't handle someone else with a different opinion. They fucking hate it.
Well, they're just never... they're never ever going to meet in the middle either, are they?
No, and no one will just go take the moral high ground and go, or if someone does, they'll go, yeah, see, and you knew I was right. And it's like, well, why can't you just both just go, you know what, agree to disagree? Yeah. I think what I think. And I'm always happy to do that. People don't have to agree with me, and I'm cool with that. Yeah. But I'm cool with that, and it'd be cool if you were cool with that too. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, again, man, just human complexity. It's fascinating, and
social media though, as the negative of that has exacerbated that dramatically.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are faceless, which makes it even.
And it's giving idiots a voice. People that usually wouldn't get the chance to say their stupid shit. Yeah, getting a chance. And hey, this podcast might be that as well. Some people might listen to this and go, well, you're saying it's stupid shit on your podcast. So.
Oh, well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt about it.
But it's my opinion. Yeah. Don't listen to it then.
Yeah, that's exactly. You can always press stop and go check something else out.
That's what annoyed me about the whole Joe Rogan thing. You know, people ragging on him for having certain guests on. It's like, you do know that you don't have to listen to that. If you don't like it, listen to something else. There's podcasts for everyone out there. There's so many of them. Why does he have to then change the way he interviews people or what guests he has on to please you?
It ties back a little bit back into what you were saying about, some of these celebrities and doing these kind of really contrived, fake apologies and stuff. I think that people think that when these people, attain a certain level of platform,
that they have a responsibility or something.
Yeah, that they kind of almost, that these people need to do things the way that they want them to do them. Like that they're owed something because of the platform of that person or something.
You've got a platform and you've got so much responsibility because so many people watch you. You need to be saying the correct things. And so, well, no, but then they're not saying what they believe. They're saying what you think's the correct thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't think that's the correct thing. And if they say what you want them to say, maybe they're going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
And isn't the ultimate thing is to be happy? Everyone should be happy. And the thing is that if they're some people go, people could die because of your views. Like people saying, say when Joe Rogan said, I don't believe in the vaccines or something, and then people are like, well, people now might die. Well, if you're stupid enough to take health advice off
Joe Rogan,
well, so your destiny's in your own hands there, and there's heaps of people that could have got advice off a doctor and then chose not to as well. There's people that could have got life-saving cancer treatment and then said, you know what, I don't want chemotherapy or something maybe, and that was their choice. And that, like my nan, she denied when she was died of cancer. She denied some treatment because she didn't want to be really sick from it, and she was religious and goes, that's against my beliefs.
Yep.
And that's fucking cool that she did that.
Yeah.
And I think that's commendable.
Absolutely.
And some people might go, well, that's fucking stupid. She could have lived. Yeah, she could have lived and then suffered really badly.
Yeah. And I mean, you just don't know, do you? It's like in this life, we've all got to, just do what feels right for us. And, it's, again, like I said, I keep coming back to it and always try and remember this. I think one thing about studying psychology, it's actually made me a lot more compassionate about other people, because everybody's got an individual story.
That's right.
What makes a person the person that they are? It's so complex. You've got genetics, you've got the environment that they grew up in.
That's right.
You've got all of their experiences that happen after that are all interacting with that other stuff that came before that they had no control over.
That's right.
And so it's I think a lot of the time it's like some people talk about free will. And say, there's like a guy, Sam Harris. You would have heard of Sam Harris, probably. He's been on Joe Rogan a few times, and he talks about that free will is an illusion, and I kind of believe in that to a degree. I think that it's like me, man. I was an anxious little kid. I was just pretty certain I was born with pretty, genetics that were driving me to be like that, and then certain things that played out throughout my life, it kind of amplified that even more.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the decisions that I would make in my life were driven by this stuff that was happening outside of my conscious awareness. You might say, well, do you want to do this, Ben? And I'd be like, no, I'm uncomfortable doing that. Well, was it really my choice, or am I being completely driven by these other factors?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and it's and I think about that a lot. When people are being dicks, or sometimes think, well, why is this person being like this? Because, like you said, ultimately it all comes back to happiness. Most of us, surely, we just want to be happy. Yeah. So, at some level, our behaviour must be kind of, caught up in that. That's somehow the way we're behaving, we think that's going to get us closer to being where we really think we need to be. Yeah. But sometimes people are just so far off course and have so little awareness of themselves and what's going on that they can't see how miserable they really are.
That's right.
Or just how they don't realise that they're their own worst enemy in certain situations. And so really in this life we're all just trying to make sense of this very bizarre experience, which is being alive, where we're born into life, and we're going to die, and who knows what any of that means in the scheme of everything. It could just be that, and that's
maybe this is just the beginning, and
who knows. But the thing is like when you realise that, I saw a thing on Twitter this morning. There's a guy, Lex Friedman. You would have seen him.
Yep.
And Lex put this tweet up, and he's like, the average human lifespan is 600,000 hours. When you hear it like that, it doesn't sound like a lot,
No,
you know. And he goes, make sure you spend those hours wisely. You know, I was like, wow, you know, it's very sobering when it's put into kind of a format like that.
That's why I try to really want to limit my screen time on social media. Because,
it's just a waste.
You know what? Because if the internet turned off and we lost all social media, it wouldn't matter. I think our lives.
I think it'd get better. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
and that's like another thing, going back to Twitter, is a lot of the people get so caught up on there. It's like you do realise that Twitter's actually not a real place. Like you can't be harmed.
No.
Just turn your fucking phone off and Twitter ceases to exist. Everyone on there ceases to exist to you.
Bang on.
Yeah. It's, and people have fucking lost their way with it. Social media has just got so much to answer for.
Yeah, well, I think it's like...
but it's got uses too. But I ultimately think that its biggest positives don't outweigh the negatives. I don't think, you know what I mean? As much as people might go, well, you can get your music out to more people on social media. It's like, yeah, but you lose so much.
That's right.
I think if they... I'd rather go hand out posters if I had to. It'd be more wholesome too, because then I'd probably meet more people in person and build relationships. And
for sure. I mean, it's hard too, because I mean, ultimately, why are these social media platforms free? You know, and they're free because you're paying for it with your attention. That's right. They know they can sell that to the highest bidder for advertising.
Yep.
And there's no secret as to why it's as compelling as it is and why it's as addictive as it is. It's because they've used teams of highly intelligent people.
Yeah, it didn't just happen like that. It's just not an accident. There's so much psychology behind it.
Absolutely, and that's why people struggle so much to turn it off, and they get caught up in it, because it's like someone... Well, it's working on the same premise. It works on exploiting neurotransmitter activity, like dopamine, things like that. So it's no different.
That's like when you get likes, you're like, ooh.
Yeah. If we were to sit down, if we were both chemists, we sat down in a lab together and said, let's design the most addictive drug we can, where people just have to keep buying it. It's essentially, it's just a computerized version of that.
That's
what they've done,
That's exactly right.
And it's like, it's why it's so hard to walk away from, So, and I think it will become one of those things. It's like if you look back in the 50s or whenever, when smoking first came out, it was really normal for there to be advertising, and there were even doctors going, that have an ad. Your doctor says, the cigarette is fantastic, get one today, Marlboro Reds. And, but then over time they realised that it was actually really harmful, and,
I think they knew it was harmful. I think more of it was money. Greed was driving that.
Of course, yeah. But I mean, I think that a similar thing will happen with social media. I mean, I feel bad for kids nowadays that have to. I mean, at least we've got the benefit of hindsight. Like, we grew up in a time where your parents did take you camping. Your parents did take you down to, on some kind of, adventure. I mean, people still do that stuff now, but it's like,
not as much.
A lot of the time, kids are just going to be like, oh, well, no, I just want to stay. I just want to stay home. Yeah. Stay home, sit on my phone, and you even go to the beach and stuff, and you wonder how much. Like, I'll be down at Silver Sands Beach and there's some chick there with her phone. She's like flicking her hair around and, trying to get and then just there for 5 minutes trying to get the perfect shot, and it's just like, we're just not present in life anymore,
No, some people are just existing.
Yeah, well, they're just caught up in this stuff, and unfortunately, in fairness to them, it's not their fault. It's like they're just... this stuff is so compelling and it's been so well designed, and for the majority, I mean, we're lucky because we remember a time when this stuff wasn't around, and you're like, that's what life was like.
Happier.
100%. So hopefully it does a 180 eventually, or it ends up being something where they find some way to really temper it and maybe even, I don't know, just regulate it in a way where it can't be as damaging as it's been allowed to currently be, because it is. It's super damaging. Even for someone like myself, I can feel it. Like if I spend too long, I come away and I'm like, oh my God, you know, I just feel so like uptight and stuff.
Yeah, well, I've deleted Facebook before, or deactivated that and Instagram before, and I was like, I don't know what to do with all this time.
Yeah,
man, I have so much time. Yeah. People actually don't really realise how much time they spend on it. It is fucking unimaginable, sickening. Man. It is sickening, and the problem is that I really want to deactivate it. Yeah. I do. Yeah. Problem is, I've got this podcast now, so I've got a reason to be on there. I've got the band, and then I've got the endorsement because and there's, you know, I enjoy the podcast, so. But to get it out there, I need to be on. So it's just, But what I need to do is reduce my screen time. Like I saw, Jake Paul, that young guy.
Jake Paul.
Not really a fan of him, but I think he's probably growing up slowly. But I saw a video of him on a podcast, and he was talking about now he's got a screen time thing, and it limits his screen time because he said because he's got all these business ventures he wants to do. Yeah. If he sits on social media, he just gets nothing done. And he said he has to. And it's like, man, social media is literally like a drug. If you have to have an app on there to stop you using it, that's fucking so. And we all need that. Yeah, so we're all addicted to this. And
I've had that self-imposed restriction thing. You know, so you can do it on the iPhone. You can set limits on yourself for whatever time you want. So you've been on there for 20 minutes and it comes up with the thing saying, you know, you can't use it anymore or whatever.
I might actually do that when we get off here.
It's work. But what I found is I adhered to it at first, and then after a while I'm like, fuck you, turn you off. You know? I just like, because you can still kind of like opt out while it comes up. You can just go ignore or whatever. And I was doing that. But yeah, man, sometimes I've had my phone, you know, comes up, the iPhone gives you a like a wrapped thing for your week or whatever, and it'll tell you how many hours a day you averaged on it. And I'm not even going to admit those hours on here because it's embarrassing. It's just, you know, I mean, when you get to the point where, you know, you're going to brush your teeth or something and you stop and grab your phone so you can look at it while you're brushing your teeth, that's a problem. Yeah, you know, like it's invasive.
If you right now said, I've got to go for a quick leak, I would get my phone out. It's actually recording, so I probably wouldn't. But if I had my phone on me, I would, because it's like a reflex now.
Yeah.
It's fucking...
No, it's bad,
So bad.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully we can learn how to... because when you think about it, if you were to look at that time, you know, like to really analytically look at that time on a week basis, so even just for a week, and say it says you use your phone 5.5 hours today, you know, 5 hours today or whatever.
If you think of the time you're awake, man, that is a lot of time.
Dude, it's like 80% of your awake time or something, you know? Yeah. And it's like, but then to also think, well, what are the things that I really want to achieve in my life? What really matters to me? What are my priorities? Say my music or whatever, time with my kids, learning new information, doing some exercise, maybe learning to meditate, you know? Yeah. Because, you know, that's important, you know, all these different things. There's so much of that time is just being wasted just on shit. Yeah. Just like literally shit. You know, you might get on there for 10 minutes and that might be fair. Like you got to know, I've got a gig on Friday night, Amps. Okay, hey guys, you know.
Yeah, you got to do a post.
We're doing this thing or whatever. Really, in an ideal world where you're using it as a tool, which is how we should use it if we could, you kind of set and forget.
I wish I could get a breakdown of my time on social media where I was doing what I needed to be doing on there. Because if I'm posting up, say, because I've got my own profile on there and I post up pictures of myself, whatever, guitars, stuff like that, because I kind of want to build a name for myself, I guess, in a way. So I've got to be on there for that. But I haven't done a post on there for a couple of days. I don't really need to be using it today if I'm not posting. Why am I really using it? No one's comment. The comments that I got, they've already happened, so there's nothing to reply to. It's like I'm literally going to go on there and scroll through shit. Like last night I was cooking dinner, and when we get the meal deliveries and you just cook it, you get all the ingredients. That dinnerly thing, and I was looking through the recipe, and then all of a sudden, then I like close that, go on Instagram, and and then I'm like, and then everyone's waiting for dinner, and then I'm, oh shit, that's right, go back to the recipe. Oh yeah, better start chopping up these onions, and I'm just like, fuck's sake,
man,
I'm gonna stop it,
so
man.
You just don't. You don't even know.
I wish I had someone just go and stop it. Stop it. Really need that. So I'm really, really going to try and limit. And another problem is my job is real sedentary. I sit around a lot, and sometimes I'll sit there for a 12-hour shift and will literally do nothing. And so I've got nothing to do but look at my phone. And it's so bad because it just breeds this. I wish I had something else to do, but there's literally nothing to do. I can't bring a guitar to work. And so I watch a lot of YouTube. At least I try to get some education out of it in some way. But a lot of that's social media. And you look on social media, everyone's like, someone posted before a photo of the motor on their boat. And it's like, you're posting that because their mates will see. But it's like, it's just all pointless shit. And then I'll post up my guitar. It's like, who really gives a fuck what guitars I've got?
That's
really.
Right.
I don't need to post it up.
It's just junk.
It's shit, man. It is. It's fucking crap. And then posting up... say even a photo of my wife and me out at dinner for a birthday, like I treasure that moment, but I'm posting that up. No one else gives a shit. People are clicking like and commenting, "Oh, happy birthday," because they're just being polite. But who really looked at that and got something out of it? No one really.
But other people are just caught up. Everyone's just caught up in this whole back scratching bullshit. It's just like it's all fucking pointless. It's like the important thing in that moment when you're out with you is you and your wife, no one else. And if anything, take it. And sometimes you'll even sit there and post something while you're sitting there, and it's like, man, this is lame.
Well, you take a photo of your meal and post it, and it's like, who gives a fuck?
Who gives a fuck? And then you check in and Barry liked it, cool. Oh, check again in 15 minutes. Going for a piss. Oh. 5 likes. Wow.
And when you don't get likes, because I put up a post on Instagram a little while ago, and I thought it would get heaps of likes, and it didn't. And man, I was sitting to my missus, I don't know why, but this has got like 8 likes. And I said, but then I'll post up something else, and it'll get like 120. And I'm like, and it bothered me, and I'm like, but who gives a fuck, really? It's like it doesn't matter, really. It doesn't affect. No. If I throw my phone in the fucking bush across the road, whatever happened on Instagram would not affect anything that's happening. No. That's the thing we need to realise, is that social media isn't real.
No, that's right.
It's not real.
It's hard, though, if you're spending those kind of hours per day on it. It starts to become like you're living a lot of your life in that in that headspace where you clearly you're putting a lot of value on it if you're spending multiple hours per day on there. And I'm not saying this to you. I mean that as a general statement.
Absolutely. But then it's like, if I didn't have it, how would I show my music to people?
Well, I did see when I was doing all the music marketing, looking at all those vids, I was saying that there's a really good app. I did write it down, but there's one that you can use. So you can schedule in stuff for like 2 weeks at a time. And you can literally, you can tell it where you want to put stuff as well. Like, I want this stuff on Instagram. I want it to go in on this day. And you can upload all your content and kind of schedule it. And it all does it. And then what you can do is, it's like, so if you're wanting to do it for your music or whatever, which for people like you and I, that's the primary reason why we initially engage with this software, right?
Yeah.
That's why we first do it. So if you're wanting to do it for those particular reasons, in theory, you could sit there, you could actually schedule it in and go, right, well, I'm off work on Tuesday and I'm going to spend an hour and a half and get all the content that I want for my for the band, and I'm going to schedule it all in for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it will just pump it all out. And to Joe Blogs, who's looking on Instagram, it just all comes up organically as if they are interacting with you on a day-to-day basis. But it allows you to kind of, put it in a box instead of it, if you're thinking day-to-day, and again, maybe part of the process becomes that you allocate an hour a week to content.
Yeah.
And you get all your content as shit that we even have to think about this stuff, but it's the world we live in as artists, so you spend an hour a week, curating all that content, finding different pics of the band, things from the gig on Saturday night, a little playthrough of a riff, or whatever, just all the different crap that we use as content now. And then just, you can schedule it in all on one day.
Yeah, that's handy.
And then you can kind of step away,
That's handy, yeah.
And it's probably, that's probably something I would like to get better at, because the other thing is as well is like day to day when you're suffering with anxiety and depression, things like that, some days I'm just not up to it, man.
Yeah.
I just really don't. And it's like, unfortunately, I think to drive ahead with trying to develop a fan base and things online for your music or for whatever you're doing, consistency is key.
Yeah.
You really need consistency.
I'm inconsistent.
Yeah, and if you are, you're kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back all the time,
I think I need to just accept the fact that it's just is what it is, and I don't have the bother or the drive to do what's necessary on social media to be big, and I've got to be cool with that. Yeah,
it's totally, man. I think it's I didn't even really care about it when I was first working on this Ghost of Aquarius stuff. I just wanted to finish the songs kind of for myself.
How'd you come up with a name for that?
Well, it all started because Jess, my wife, has a cousin who we've had a lot to do with, and she's an Aquarius, and I don't know if you believe in star signs, but but Aquarius is like generally, they get a bit of a bad rap as being kind of flaky and pains in the ass and stuff like that. Yeah. And anyway, she kind of lives up to the name a little bit, and she always used to ghost everybody in family kind of message threads and stuff like that. She'd just disappear, and then there was my grandma. She's dead, but she was an Aquarius as well. And, if you believe in ghosts, I guess maybe she is one now. Who knows? Yeah, okay. But it's kind of
that's a pretty cool meaning, though.
Yeah, it was a bit of a multi kind of layered name. But then also the symbol of Aquarius, I didn't realise this when I came up with any of it, is waves. It's like the ocean. Yeah. It's a aqua, I guess, Aquarius. It's this this kind of water sign, and I'm like hugely drawn to the water, and I think the sounds of my music, there's a lot of like ethereal type of sounding kind of sound to it, energy to it. So I know there was actually more to it, but I can't. But anyway, that's the very short version of the story. It's kind of based on those people.
Our band had a story behind our name, but mine's literally, our band name's literally from a band name generator online.
Hey, I mean, it's funny just how, like, once it becomes something, it doesn't matter anyway. It just becomes it grows into its name.
Yeah, well, that's well then.
Yeah.
Because we had all of us in our chat, our group chat, all the band members we had throwing in names and all that. Oh, what's a cool name? And no one could agree on names. So then I was just putting in stuff on this band name generator. You can choose like dark or like kind of what mood it's going to be, and then what emotions and and that, and it just had heaps of lists. There's so much dumb shit on there, and and then there's one I put on the Infinite Exile.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, "Fuck, that's really cool." I was like, "That is kind of cool," because I was like, because metal's always on the outer.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's like your Infinite Exile, you're exiled forever.
It's
never going to be the main.
Yeah.
It's never going to be as big as pop.
Yeah.
And it's like, and myself, I never fit in with people. I'm always doing my own thing, and I'm never the popular guy, and I'm never, I'm always exiled.
Yeah.
And forever. And that's how it's going to be, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
And then that's, and then it kind of ties into the podcast, like Exiled podcast. A lot of the guests are people that are like me, musos, and don't fit in with a lot of people, and like, so
it's good. It's funny how I just kind of feel like in life things just end up how they're meant to end up.
Yeah,
regardless of how you
and if
get
it's not
there.
going to, you'd cut it off anyway.
Yeah, that's it. Well, it's just
you're always curating your life and shaping it, aren't you, forever? Well, man. And that's why people like me and you will never be content, because you're always just forever curating your existence.
Absolutely.
There's some people that are just happy to drink beers and watch footy and sit on the couch all day and go to work, Monday to Saturday or whatever, and just drink piss until they die of alcoholism, watching footy. And they're happy with that, but that ain't me.
No, I think it goes without saying, but it's definitely not me either.
No.
Unless I'm doing this kind of stuff, like, working on creativity and music, and it really feels like there's something missing. And with the last couple of years, things being so weird, it's really kind of put into perspective to me what matters to me. And it's certainly not money. I mean, I agree with what you're saying earlier, like a certain amount of comfort would be nice. Like I like nice stuff. I like oysters. I like, going out for a nice dinner. I like to be able to go on an occasional holiday, but I'm not into cars. I could not give a shit about cars. I don't need some big fancy house. I would love to, me and Jess have been talking the last few years about, would love to maybe move south or something, and have a bit of a rural property and a studio out the back and things like that. Would be really cool to just be closer to nature. I mean, the last couple of years I've gotten really into gardening, which is the most kind of unmetal thing probably going around.
Surprisingly, heaps of metal people I know are into gardening.
I love it, dude. That's my thing. It's just being out there in nature and kind of looking after the plants, and they're all legal plants, by the way.
No mullies out there.
No mullies.
No poppies.
No poppies. Actually, I've got a mate. It's funny you brought up the poppies, because my dad was eating some toast yesterday with poppy seeds on it, and I've got a mate who tested positive.
Yeah, if you eat enough eat enough bagels.
Yeah, he tested positive at work for opioids. Yeah. And
I'm just a bagel enthusiast.
It's so crazy.
I just eat bagels. I live off bagels.
I had to explain it to my folks. They're like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's a real thing. But so, I just, I love doing that. My little kids, my elder daughter, she gets out with me. We got a worm farm. We get out there and she's like, can I put the worms in my hand? I'm like, yeah, of course. We do all that.
And that's what today. Awesome. Our daughter was trying to come out there because I've been chopped down some trees out the back and put in some them pencil pines.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Love them. And then put in some new golden cane palms, and I just wants to help me, and I feel so terrible because part of me is like, just piss off and let me dig this hole, you know what I mean? But then she's so innocent and wants to help me and hang out with me, and I'm like, so I'm letting her, but getting in the way, and then all the sound I'm digging out, she's putting back in, and then trying to dig the reticulate, and I'm just like, and it's like she doesn't know any better, and trying so hard not to get yelled.
Lose your shit, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel terrible, man, because I'm just thinking, bugger off and let me do it. But then it's like, no, she wants to hang out with me. That's fucking cool.
Absolutely. And before you know it, they don't want anything to do with you.
That's exactly what a few of my workmates have said. And not only that, is she's at least not inside on the fucking iPad or something. She's
watching Cocomelon,
trying to muck around in the dirt, and and I should really, really be encouraging that. But I was just like, I'm trying to get this done before Ben comes over. I've got to get it done because the sun's coming out and my head's fucking burnt from the other day.
Yeah.
And I just want to get it done.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're getting in the way and you're slowing me down, but it's like, it is what it is. You know?
Yeah.
She's trying to help me, and I just got to remind myself to stop being such a Grinch.
Yeah, man. It's I totally get it. But yeah, I've been lucky that I had a son early on. Like, he's 18 now, you know, and you've met Zach, and now having little girls later in life, and I never wanted to have more kids, so I really didn't. And my missus for like 7 years, I was just like, no. And then it got to the point where I knew that she wanted it so much, and I knew that she would have stuck around if I continued to say no. But then for the rest of our lives, I would have to think, you know, I stopped her from being able to. I mean, she might have chosen to stay with me. She let you have your way, but she didn't get her way. Yeah. And it's like, you got your way 100%, and she got nothing, and that's selfish. Yeah, exactly. And I got to a point where I was like, man, I need to either cut this chick free. I probably would have had to leave her and let her go meet someone else that would give her kids, or give her kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it got to a point where, and it was always because Zach was the only child, and I thought, if I have kids again, when I do, I'll definitely at least have two. Yeah. Because I think having them, and you've had brothers, you know, and I've got my sisters, and as much as we don't all get along all the time, it's nice to have grown up with having other people around you. You know, I think it's pretty lonely as an only child, and having two girls, it's been the best. And I guess being a kid myself when my son was born, you know, I was 21. And I was trying to be a rock star at the same time and do all these other things, and a lot of the time I was just tired, and you know, and I just was nowhere near I was too focused on being a kid myself and about my own needs and my own selfishness to be able to really appreciate the finiteness of that time of when they're little. You know yourself, they grow so fast, they change so fast, and it's like, man, it's the ultimate lesson in presence when you realise that, you know, just that, like, the beautiful moments that you have with them, you know, they'll be gone forever before you know it. You just you need to slap yourself every now and again and go, nah, fuck you, man. You know, just like enjoy this moment, you know, because it's like a I can't remember what I was going to say, but you know, it's such a gift. I know I sound like a cheese ball, but it really is. And having the benefit of hindsight of knowing that I didn't understand how important it was when I was young, and I get it now. I'm like, wow, I'm gonna lean into this, and that's why I stopped even doing a lot of the cover gigs now, because I don't really value being out until 2 a.m, multiple nights a week anymore. I'd prefer to get up and be around my kids, have a coffee, and read a book with them or something, you know. But just seeing them happy, man. That's what life is all about. And you know, my daughter Maya, I don't know, we didn't talk about this, but she's actually, you probably might have realised this, she's the one on Daddy. At the start of the track.
Yeah, right. Daddy, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's the first time she ever used a mic.
Oh, that's cool.
She's just like this. She's like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. And I just recorded it. And it ended up becoming a sample.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
On the track.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And my wife ended up singing on the track as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to listen again.
Yeah, she sings.
Because I didn't realise you were singing on the song either. I didn't realise that. So I'm going to have another listen. And
yeah, cool.
Might have to get you to drop some vocals.
Mate,
sometime.
I'm always up for. I just love music, and anybody, it's even at the music shop. Even beginners coming in. I actually love what I do, even though it's a retail job, because I'm just passionate about music.
Yeah, man.
And I just want to support like anybody that's doing that. Like I said, in this day and age, with all the shit going on in the world, if people are wanting to play music, there's hope. It's like it's just, and being able to be a part of like people's journey when they're getting into it, even just getting them excited about a purchase, their first purchase, and
so
they
walk,
I
wish I could relive that excitement of picking up guitar and
how good is it?
It's just I've got a lot of guitars now, and buying a new guitar is never as good as that first time.
No. It's like your first bong when you're 15 or whatever. you chasing being that blazed against the rest of life. I don't smoke pot, by the way, but I did smoke a lot when I was younger.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I never did, but
yeah,
we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, no, it's approaching Joe Rogan kind of length.
Yeah,
but it's been really good. Been really good to chat, man.
Yeah, it has. Yeah,
and for what it's worth, it's like. It's just really, I've known you a long time now, and it's just really good to see that you've kind of never wavered, and it might not always seem like it, but you've kept chipping away to get to exactly where you are now, you know, and it's awesome, man. Yeah, it's awesome.
Thanks. No, same to you as well. Yeah.
Sweet, bro.
Yeah.
Thanks
for coming, man.
Anytime.